Hi, my name is Matthew Hale. I'm the Executive Vice President for the, at least, winter of 2012.
So Matthew, why did you sign up for this position?
Well, I've really gotten a whole lot out of being a BAT member. Without it, I wouldn't have an internship or be on the path to a full-time job. And with only a quarter left before I graduate, I really wanted to give back the best I could. And it seemed like an officer position that was left vacant partway through the year was the best way to do that.
What is the best skill you have gained from it?
I'd probably say from specifically being an officer, the best skill I've gained so far is the ability to persuade people. In Beta Alpha Psi, we have so many different volunteer events for the tutorial center. We have specific events that we put on randomly throughout the year that demand a lot of our members' time. And so sometimes you have to learn how to persuade people to give up some of their time to do those things. And it's partially my role as Executive Vice President to convince people, especially for the tutoring center, to do that. So that's been very helpful in learning how to persuade people.
What did you enjoy most about being an officer?
It kind of ties back to my first answer about how I really wanted to give back to the club. I get a deep sense of satisfaction from giving back to some of the younger members because I definitely remember being there, having no idea what to do, knowing nothing about the recruitment schedule. It's nice to be able to share that knowledge with people who don't yet know.
How much time do you spend on a weekly basis?
I really don't have a set schedule. Something about the Executive Vice President position is part of it seasonal. Like one of my responsibilities is to set up the volunteer income tax assistance program, which only happens during the winter. So during the winter, it takes quite a bit more of my time, but throughout the rest of the year, it just depends on what events happen to be going on. So there's really not a specific number of hours I spend. It just all depends.
Was it more hours or less hours than you thought?
It was probably less hours than I thought it would be, primarily because of the dependency on just certain large events. In between large events, there's really not much to do except to keep an eye on the tutorial center and just answer any questions the members have.
What is a common misconception about what you do?
Really, the problem isn't so much that there's misconceptions about what I do, but I don't know if there's conceptions about what I do at all. One of the problems that we've had so far is getting people to be interested in the officer positions at all, because I don't think people really understand what we do. So really what we need to do is just share the information more about what we do, because I don't think people have much of an idea at all, nonetheless, misconceptions.
What makes your position better than the other positions?
Well, I feel like my position has probably the best work-life balance involved in it. I mean, there are certain times, like when VITA comes around, when you spend a ridiculous amount of hours on the position, but otherwise, really, it's a really manageable workload, especially even as a senior. I never feel overwhelmed with balancing my duties and my schoolwork, which is important both here in school and once you get out into the accounting world.
Now for the fun questions.
Oh.
Matthew, if you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be?
If I was a tree, I'd probably be a ficus, because I feel very at home in the office and I don't need a significant amount of natural lighting.
Fair enough. If Hollywood made a movie about your life, who would you like to play you as the lead?
Patrick Stewart, both because I would really like to have an accent, and in my spare time when I'm not doing accounting, I'd really like to pilot the Enterprise.
Me too. So Matthew, one last question. What was your most embarrassing moment as an officer?
My most embarrassing moment as an officer? Probably when I asked the club how many people still needed volunteer hours to become Beta Alpha Psi members, and we had probably half the club raise their hands, and then I asked how many of those people would like to do the tutorial center, and pretty much every single person put their hands back down. And it's definitely a nice little snapshot of how difficult it could be to persuade people to do things at times.